there are 3 things I want to accomplish today. First and foremost, we're going to make our way out to a less than impressive coffee shop. Okay, look, your girl wants her Dunkin', and there happens to be a Dunkin' in the area that I want to go today, so that seems like a good excuse to me. Next on the list, I want to explore that area a little bit, just give it a little look, because it's about 5 minutes from Epic Universe, and there are a ton of vacation rentals in that area. So I figure, I don't know, maybe some of you might want to consider that if you're going to be vacationing down here and checking out Epic or spending a lot of time there. So we'll go look. We'll go look together, see what it's all about. And finally, I want to answer some of your questions because there were 2 Epic Universe related questions that I wanted to just sit here and chat with you about. So we're going to do that today, but first order of business, we got to make our way out. Traffic is a little rough right now. I think it's not going to have us take I-4 up toward Epic. It's going to have us go I-Drive, which, I mean, I don't know. I've been sitting here talking to you for a second, so maybe that has changed. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes one way or another. Should take us about 20-25 minutes to get up that direction. So Let's make it happen. All right, well, we made it. Only took us about 20 minutes to get here from the Hollywood Studios quadrant of the Walt Disney World area. Traffic did change up a little bit between when I first looked at my GPS and when we set out. So it did have me go I-4, getting off at like exit 72 before getting right off again at exit 1, which dropped us off on I-Drive right near the convention center. In fact, that's kind of where we are right now. Here's the address of the Dunkin' Donuts that I am going to be wandering into momentarily. This is an interesting little spot because there's so much available right here. This is kind of like a strip mall or a shopping center. I don't know how you would describe it, but there's actually a pizza place right behind me that I've had my eye on, and there's a diner out that way that I've been wanting to check out as well. We're not going to check out either today, but we will be back. There's also a lot of vacation rentals right in this vicinity. Now, I will say I haven't looked into them. I have no information on them in terms of pricing or what exactly the accommodations look like. I haven't stayed there, so I don't know the quality or anything like that. But I found the location it meets a lot of needs. It checks a lot of boxes. So I don't know, maybe look into this if this is the type of place where you'd want to stay. You know, you think about doing a vacation rental near Epic. We're only like 5 minutes away. But here's the thing. I'm going to run in, grab myself some Dunkin', and then we'll get into one of those questions that I wanted to answer. So sit tight. I'll be right back. Guys, what is going on with Dunkin' Donuts? What's going on with Dunkin'? Got myself a drink, got myself a bucket of munchkins because look at this. Look at it. Got some napkins. But like, the situation at Dunkin' has changed. It has changed. I don't go to Dunkin' all that often because I don't really have any Dunkin' Donuts near me, but we went to Dunkin' Donuts in Boston, and like, they were having issues with offering what their menu says is available. And then today, same thing. So disappointing. But look at that. Look at that. Anyway, I'm gonna get myself situated, and then I say we move the car kind of over that direction and see if we can find a place to sit and chat for a minute. So the first question that I want to get into today came up during our conversation regarding crowding over at Walt Disney World. At the tail end of that discussion, I mentioned Epic Universe, and I didn't just do this because I felt like talking about Epic or injecting it into our conversation, but because the person that I was responding directly to had brought up Epic, and so I had some thoughts to share. So that's what I did. Now, one of you wanted to know why I would share any opinions on a place that I have yet to visit. And so I wanted to answer that really quickly for you. The long and short of it, there's a difference when we're talking about sharing an opinion on an experience versus sharing an opinion on a thing. I have been very open about the fact that I haven't been to Epic yet. We're going to talk a little bit more about why here in a bit. But even having not visited the park, there are some truths about Epic that, I have thoughts on. The size of the park is the size of the park. I have opinions based on that. regardless whether or not I've stepped foot in the gates. The number of stairs that you'll encounter when you're at the park, I've got opinions on that. And I have opinions on things like the number of attractions that can operate in inclement weather. All of those things I have opinions on, and absolutely can have opinions on them, regardless whether or not I've ever been to the park. They're doing some lawn work, so let's get back in the Z. All right, I've relocated to a shady spot that's hopefully free and clear of lawn work. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, okay, so here's the thing. The way that I do things here, and the way I will continue to do things here, is to only share how-tos or reviews or other like informative vacation planning information when I have personal experience with the thing that I'm talking about. I'm not going to sit here and be like so many other people, and yes, they are out there, who pretend that they know something that they don't, and then you take that information and you plan your vacation around it, and it has a negative impact on your day. I'm just not going to do that. But there's a big difference between doing that type of thing and sharing opinions on like whether or not Epic Universe has moved theme parks forward as an industry. You know, like there are certain things that you can have opinions on that aren't going to impact your vacation planning in any way, shape, or form. My opinion on whether or not Epic Universe made a mistake by having so many outdoor attractions that have to close in inclement weather, I don't have to have any personal experience with that to have an opinion on it. And you know, I do reserve the right to have opinions on whatever it is I have opinions on and chat with you about that when I do. Sometimes my opinions are off base, sometimes they're just flat out wrong, sometimes I change my opinion. Happens all the time. But we have conversations, and that's where we're at, honestly. So if you were wondering why I would talk about it at all, that's why. Because I got thoughts bouncing around in my head, and sometimes I want to share them with you, especially when I'm asked directly about those specific things or when those things come up in conversation. All right, so next question, which I'm going to answer from right here in the driver's seat, because unfortunately there's really no good place for me to go sit outside in this particular location. So I apologize for that, but sometimes you're working with what you're working with, and this is what we're working with. So the question is, when am I going to go to Epic? Great question. So the short answer is when the weather is better, both when it comes to heat as well as when it comes to rain, or when they drop an annual pass. Look, it's hot right now. It's summertime. I only do so well in this heat. Now look, I know some of you are thinking, hey, you're in Florida, right? Like you've got this handled. Yeah, I've got it handled, but part of how I handle it is not staying out in the sun and in a theme park, which is always hotter than it is elsewhere, all day. And I just don't think it makes sense to spend all that money on a day ticket to Epic Universe only to have to dip out during half of the day because the heat has gotten to me. It's just not my idea of a good time, and I don't think that that's going to get me the experience that I'm looking for, and not the experience that I need to give you guys information about what you can expect if you're going to visit Epic. Outside of the heat, we've also been having some really nasty weather here, like really rainy, really stormy for really long stretches of time. So especially with Epic, like I mentioned earlier, not really being a great park in the rain because of how much closes down due to inclement weather, I have a hard time convincing myself that it makes sense to spend all that money on a day ticket only to not have access to, 2/3 of the park when it ultimately rains through the rest of the day. And I know some of you are thinking, well, just check the weather before you go. It's not always that cut and dry. In fact, the past weekend alone, we were supposed to have rain and got nothing. And then we were supposed to get no rain and then it poured. So, it's the luck of the draw over here, and you got to plan accordingly. So that kind of turns me off of spending nearly $200 a day to go to Epic Universe to not have the whole experience, which wouldn't be so bad if we had an annual pass, because it would be more cost effective for someone like myself. And that's why I say, like, if they dropped an annual pass tomorrow, I would be on that so quick and we'd be going to Epic same day. But they haven't done that just yet. And personally, I'm willing to wait, which is also why I didn't go at the start. It's also why I didn't get any preview tickets for Epic Universe. I know some of you might be disappointed that I didn't go that route, but My pockets are only so deep, and I didn't like the way that Universal went that route. Not because I have anything against Universal, but because I call it like I see it, and this was an epic money grab, charging the price of a day ticket to have guests go to the park so that they could ultimately work out kinks, but also being like, oh, well, it is technical rehearsal, so you can't expect much. I know that there are people who have some very strong opinions on this, and people were quick to be like, why are you complaining? You had the ability to go before everyone else. But that's no excuse. Universal absolutely could have leveraged annual pass holders, giving them access for free, and then said, oh, well, it is free, so you can't expect much. And you wouldn't have gotten the complaints that you got from people who paid, $180 to $160, $190, depending on the day, to preview this place. So, strong opinions on that as well. And to put it simply, I put my money where my mouth is. If I don't believe in a thing, I'm not going to buy that thing. And I'm certainly not going to look at any company, Disney, Universal, Gatorland, and saying, you know what, this definitely is a money grab. I don't like the way you're doing this. Let me spend the money on it. That's not how I do things. That's one of the reasons that I took my annual pass down to a pixie pass. I'm not going to just hand over cash for no reason. You got to give me a good reason, and I'll hand over what I think is reasonable for that product. And I don't think that the previews were a reasonable amount of money for that product based on what people were saying. So, that's where I'm at. So we'll have to see what happens with Epic, and I'll get there when I get there. Until then, I'll enjoy the other parks, whether it's Walt Disney World or the other 2 Universal parks, which I love, but my pockets aren't nearly as deep as some other channels' pockets might be, which, by the way, you do you. I have nothing against anyone making whatever decisions are right for them, but this isn't a decision that's right for me. But all right, I think that about says it for these 2 questions at least. Let's go wander around a little bit. I want to get a look at what's available in here, and also just kind of drive around this area, see what these vacation rentals are all about. All right, so we're back home. There wasn't really a whole lot for me to show you, so I figured that I would just make my way back home and tell you what I saw. And also I'm gonna share some things on the screen so you get an idea of where exactly I was. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna look a little bit into the vacation rentals that are in this area because it's interesting. So like I said, we're like 15 to 20 minutes away from the Hollywood Studios area of the Walt Disney World Resort, only about 5 minutes from Epic Universe, which is a perfect location. Lots of vacation rentals in this area. I wasn't able to actually go into the area to check them out because they are gated, which is nice. That's definitely appealing. Access onto the highway from this spot is perfect, and there were a lot of things in this general vicinity that would make it a good spot for vacationing. Like I mentioned, diner, pizza place, Dunkin' Donuts, and that's just to name a few. There were a lot of other things in this area as well. There were some sidewalks so you can kind of make your way from some of the vacation rentals that aren't in this immediate vicinity over to this space. So definitely worth considering, or at least looking into. Again, I don't have any personal experience with these vacation rentals. I don't know anything about them as I sit here chatting with you, but I thought it was interesting. But yeah, that about concludes our day. I hope that you found this interesting. If you were one of the people who asked these questions, I hope that this got you the answers that you were looking for. I'm really excited for tomorrow, but you're just going to have to join me and see what we'll be up to. Until then, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.